Joe Biden. His mental acuity has been in question for years, okay? So I guess you have to strike another win for the conspiracy theorists, right? So many things that they try to make you and I and everyone else, man. They try to discredit us by throwing that term, conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theorists. Well, White House aides noticed Biden's decline during first months of term. Wall Street Journal reports. So you have this Wall Street Journal report. People that's closest to the president, Joe Biden, saying that his mental acuity has diminished over the years, and we have been lied to by mainstream media for years about this. Now, let me explain something to you, man. Let me tell you something. We're the regular folks out here, right? Okay. When you have people that are close to you, your elders, right? Where you've seen their mental health, their health decline over the years, you know what that looks like, man. It's a very, very depressing and sad situation because you've seen them at their peak. You've seen them when they were at their best, man. And we love them. But then we see, as old age does to a lot of our elders, man, a lot of our people, man, it changes you. Mentally, it changes you. Physically, it changes you. And you notice. It's something that you can't notice, man. And it's sad. So when we see the president of the United States, Joe Biden, our president, right? No one wants to see Joe Biden's health decline. We don't want to see that, okay? Because in our own lives, man, our own loved ones, man, we don't want to see it. It's a sad situation. So when you tell us for years that this is not happening, we looking at you like, come on, dog. We see it. This is the reason why you guys have been hiding them. This is the reason why they're saying that accessibility to Joe Biden, it was limited. People needed answers. They needed to have access to him, and they were limited to accessibility to him. Many people are saying this in this report, the Wall Street Journal report. So, once again, man, conspiracy theorists are right again, man. Man, conspiracy theorists over the last few years, man, we're like just on a run, man. We're on a championship run. We're on a championship run of fact finding. We're on a championship run of just destroying legacy media. So I did do this. I did take a look because you guys know I love the ladies of The View. I mean, I actually do. I do not think the ladies of The View are stupid. I think they're highly intelligent. I think they're definitely in tune with what's going on, right? However, I do believe they're compromised. I do believe that. Now, I searched for a video of this. I wanted to see if The View would address Joe Biden's acuity. Are they going to address it? Because if this was Donald Trump, The View would have been all over it. If they had a report on Donald Trump and he had his mental acuity was declining for years, The View would have been all over it. And every single one of those ladies would have had a strong opinion on it. I searched for Joe Biden, The View, Joe Biden, Wall Street Journal report. I put the words in so many different ways. I searched just The View. I looked. I couldn't find anything of them addressing it now. That's as of today. Now, will they address this? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll watch B&B, the B&B show, and they'll be like, you know something? We can't let black man voting put us out like this. call us out like this. We need to address this. We need to put our spin on this. We need to put our little seasoning on Joe Biden. So let's go to the news outlets that have covered this, man. So let's take a look, man, on the decline of President Joe Biden's mental acuity.
President Biden was out and about today visiting a children's hospital with First Lady Dr. Jill. The rare public outing seen as an attempt to reassure the nation after a bombshell Wall Street Journal report claimed his staff has been concealing his cognitive decline right from the start of his presidency. According to the Journal, there were limits over who Biden spoke with and what they said to him. At events, aides often repeated instructions to him, such as where to enter or exit a stage that would be obvious to the average person. And Hollywood mogul Jeffrey Katzenberg was even asked to find a voice coach to improve the president's fading warble.
Everything we have to do with, look.
It seems to me like the White House owes it to people to be a little bit more forthcoming about, what people can see with their own eyes.
Wall Street Journal reporter Rebecca Ballhaus says she and her colleagues spoke to 50 Biden insiders.
I think, of course, the fact that Biden has lost the election and is not going to be president as of late January next year makes it a lot easier for some people to speak.
This president was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the office, and his staff and the White House lied about it and kept it from the American people. It's an absolute scandal.
Meanwhile, the chaos on Capitol Hill continued as the government teeters on the brink of a shutdown. Democrats are blaming Elon Musk, but President Trump's first buddy is not backing down, sharing this message from his 4-year-old son, X.
What should I do?
Save America.
And?
Help Trump.
Stephen Colbert is poking fun at the world's richest man's extraordinary influence.
Some folks are calling Elon Musk president. Oof. Well, if he's going to be the guy running everything, I'm going to have to work on my Elon Musk impression. Here goes. Okay? You okay?
So that last, you saw that last thing by Colbert, right? That's their psyop, man. That's their propaganda again. They want to continue. You've noticed that, right? In my videos, I've shown this. They keep wanting to say Elon Musk, Trump. Elon Musk is the president. Elon Musk is the president. Elon Musk is the president, right? They keep pushing that out there. They're trying to crack the foundation of Donald Trump's administration because he has some strong people that he was appointed, and Elon Musk is one of them. Elon Musk is doing his job at the behest of Donald Trump. So when you guys continuously say, hey, Elon Musk is the president, look at who's running things, well, y'all have been lying about Joe Biden all this time. Joe Biden is supposed to be running things. Kamala Harris is supposed to be running things. Donald Trump has not been sworn in yet. Elon Musk is doing his job, okay? Donald Trump asked him to do this job, him and Vivek. Elon Musk and Vivek. Remember DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. So when Elon Musk does his job, now all of a sudden you guys want to sit up here and be upset. And then you want to sit up here and have disparaging things to say about Elon Musk as if he's not one of the smartest men of all time in human history. He's one of the most successful men ever. One of the most intelligent human beings ever. and you guys have a problem with Donald Trump appointing him to DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Look, man, you guys want to do anything to discredit Donald Trump, and you guys should be ashamed of yourself. You want to discredit Donald Trump, but you guys have been lying about Joe Biden's mental health for many years. We could see that there was something wrong. We could see that Joe Biden's health was diminishing, and you guys want to continue to lie about it. Now that he is not going to be president again, now you're starting to see different people like at CNN and stuff like that. They're starting to change their tune, right? Okay, so let's take a quick look here at. Hold on one second. Let's take a look here. So, White House aides noticed Biden's decline during the first months of term, Wall Street Journal reports. Take a look here, man. Concerns within the White House over President Biden's physical and mental fitness began early in his term in the Oval Office, the Wall Street Journal reported Thursday. Biden, 82, faced accusations throughout the year of being unfit to continue serving in the White House. The scrutiny peaked following his performance in the June presidential debate with President-elect Donald Trump, during which Biden appeared forgetful, confused, while speaking in rambling fragments. That's true. These are all true. We've been saying it. So it's not like people are trying to be mean. This President Joe Biden is the president and leader of the United States. And as a public figure, government figure, political figure, leader of our country, we as citizens should be concerned. So the media, the mainstream media, continuously lying about this. This is the reason why y'all got me here doing this. Lying about this, lying about what's going on in the stock market, so on and so forth. You know, lying about illegal naked shorts in the stock market. If you don't know anything about that, go ahead and do your due diligence and deep dive about illegal naked shorts, counterfeit shares in the stock market, price suppression, okay, payment for order flow, failures to deliver, dark pools. Media being weaponized to go against companies like GME, AMC, HYMC, allegedly, right? SEC chair not doing his job. That's why the guy left his office, because Donald Trump was going to fire him. But I digress. Let's get back. You guys know that type of stuff with the corruption in the stock market bothers me and bothers millions of people. Hopefully, we'll see some justice here soon. Let's take a look. Biden and the members of his administration repeatedly rejected suggestions he could not continue running for re-election, despite some of the suggestions coming from Democrats. However, the president in July ultimately abandoned his re-election bid and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, who later lost the presidential election. I believe Joe Biden, this is what I believe, man. I think Joe Biden was upset about this. I think that he was removed by his party, and that's why you saw Joe Biden put on the Donald Trump hat. He put on the Trump, the MAGA hat, and then he had the hat in his hand when he got on U.S. Air Force One. So, you know, Joe Biden, I think he was doing some things to sabotage Kamala Harris. But now I think Joe Biden and the people that's probably pulling the strings behind him are doing things to sabotage Donald Trump now. There's a lot of things that they're doing that doesn't make any sense, right? But anyway, let's get back to this. The Wall Street Journal on Thursday interviewed nearly 50 individuals familiar with operations to conceal or help the president's mental and physical state. Advisors of Biden reportedly realized during the first few months of his term that the bruising presidential schedule would need to be adjusted for the president, citing his fatigue and making mistakes. He's getting older. He's 82 years old. You know, stop lying to us. Stop lying to us. The protective culture inside the White House was intensified because Biden started his presidency at the height of the COVID pandemic, the publication wrote. But the shell constructed for the pandemic was never fully taken down, and his advanced age hardened it. Yeah. This is vindication. This has been the year of vindication. It all started with Cat Williams. Cat started. I'm lame Cat. Cat started all this, man. On Club Shay Shay, man, one of my favorite podcasts, by the way, and one of my favorite comedians, by the way, Cat Williams, man, highly intelligent, very smart brother. So you take a look at this. You take a look at Donald Trump and the character assassination, and them trying to actually assassinate him, and then him coming out and becoming the 47th president, right? all of these things that are coming to light about the FBI, the DOJ, all of these things that's coming to light about Donald Trump's company, DJT, and Devin Nunes, CEO, when they're talking about what's happening in the stock market with illegal naked shorts. All of these things is called vindication. Now you have this with Joe Biden. People have been talking about Joe Biden for years. We've been talking about Joe Biden for years. Vindication. Yeah, we already knew, but legacy media is so powerful, and they have resources that we don't have. You know, they have access to millions of people, and you're going to have people that's going to believe whatever they say because they're just about party. They're not about individual subjects, right? Let's attack each subject matter, right? One at a time, and let's just see what this party and this party has to say about these subject matters. No. When you're about party, you're just about party no matter what. No matter if they are wrong and deep down inside you think they're wrong. You will come up with a defense to explain misbehavior, bad policy, lies. You know, a lot of people that I've encountered, man, especially if you are just really, really strong about one party or another. I mean, I'm in recent years, the Democratic side, right? You defend things like this, and you defend other things that the Democrats have done. You defend it in bad faith. You enter into discourse in bad faith. You know it, and we know it. It's a situation that is it's unsettling. It's unsettling, man. Yeah, we're vindicated, but at the same time, it's disheartening. You know, it's like all these lies for what? What is it about the presidency and staying in office that you guys are willing to sacrifice your moral compass to do it? Morally, you guys are wrong, man. You sit here and you let this man be paraded around and puppeted around because of what? Because you want to control what? Greed? Is it greed? I mean, there's so many different reports that's coming out about, you know, Russia and Ukraine. There's different things that's coming out about politicians and their salaries and what their net worth is, what they came into the position at, their net worth when they came in, and where they're at currently. Like, wow, man, you guys are some of the greatest financial people ever, some of the greatest stock traders ever. It's amazing. It couldn't possibly be that you're utilizing the information that you have to go ahead and front run trades. That couldn't be it at all, right? Unbelievable. Unbelievable the things that we've uncovered. And that's what greed does. That's what greed does. And this is the reason why the Democrats are out of office. This is the reason why left-wing media is constantly criticizing Donald Trump. You guys are running for 2028 already. And then you want to go ahead and put all of this doubt, this fear and uncertainty and doubt into the minds of the masses to make it seem as if Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing. But see, I love when things like this happens because we can go ahead and report on stuff like this. And then people can see you guys have been lying for the last 4 years. And now your own people, your own Democrats are saying, yeah, well, that was one of them lies. That was kind of tough on me to tell. Man, come on, man. Mainstream media is duplicitous. You guys are duplicitous for sure. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this next video.
This piece does show Biden having all of these sort of walls up.
Yeah.
And the walls kept getting higher and higher as the years went on.
This is the biggest scandal in America. And the level and volume of people who dedicated themselves to lying to everyone at home about this man's condition for 4 straight years up through this summer is breathtaking. It's a scandal of epic proportions. And it's a fair question to ask, who is running the country? Who has been running the country? And as I said earlier, if you're worried about Donald Trump's advisors having influence for the last 4 years, apparently this president, duly elected, but this president was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the office. And his staff and the White House lied about it and kept it from the American people. It's an absolute scandal.
Look, I'll say two things. One is that I think Joe Biden, despite all this, had a very successful tenure. You may disagree, but I think on policy as a Democrat, he had a very successful 4 years. But there's a bigger problem here, and that is that I think Democrats are at the point where Republicans might have been right after the Bush election or after the Bush term was up, which is that I think Democrats are starting to mistrust their institutions. And this goes back to a bipartisan effort to lie us into the Iraq War, not just by George Bush, but also by a lot of Democrats. It has to do with the fact that Barack Obama did not hold anybody accountable after the 2008 crisis, which also happened on George Bush's watch, but he became president. He never threw a hostage on the tarmac from Wall Street. You saw the rise of Bernie Sanders as a result of that, and you saw a lot of institutional Democrats, me included, saying, no, this is not the time. We have to stick with the institution. And I think you have a lot of Democrats now, me included, who are pretty sick of the institution and trusting people in the institution. And this is just one example, most recent example, I think, of people institutionally lying to the American people. And what you're ultimately going to see, and I don't have a problem saying this as a Democrat, is that you're going to see a Tea Party version rise up in the Democratic Party based on the fact that this is yet another marker of people just not trusting our leaders anymore. And I'm sorry to say that, but I think we brought this on ourselves.
Yeah, I remember so distinctly when the Wall Street Journal's first story came out and the uproar about it among Democrats and the anger that they were making things up. In this story, they have multiple sitting members of Congress on the record talking about how they hardly ever heard from the president. They're chairmen of their respective committees, going all the way back to the Afghanistan withdrawal. I mean, this is something that they told the public was a Joe Biden decision. And according to this article, he was not really a huge part of rationalizing it, even to his own party among the elected officials.
But I think there is, like, I don't know if everybody's looking at me like I'm supposed to be defending the Democrats right now.
No.
Because, like, I think the interesting thing about this entire question is, like, when...
I think that's hilarious. Because, I feel for this brother, man. They all looking at him like, okay, we know you about to defend the Democrats. this brother sitting there, man, probably all hot under the collar, sweating. Look, we get it, man. It has been indoctrination in the minority community. It has been, man. My entire life, has been, oh, you know what? Vote Democrat, vote Democrat, vote Democrat, vote Democrat. And when you're young and you don't care about politics, you're like, man, whatever. Okay. We know the Republicans are the bad guys. That is what we have been trained. Our brains have been trained to think this way, man. So I know this brother right here is like, man, I know these mugs is looking at me like I'm going to defend this. I can't get behind this lie. I can't defend this lie no more. He probably was defending it before. Oh, no, man, Joe is straight. Joe's straight, man. He good. I just talked to Joe the other day, man. We was talking about football and we was talking about, whatever was going on in the rap community. We was talking about Kendrick and Drake. Brother, I feel you, man. You probably was defending Joe at one point, man. Now you got to switch up. Man. You got people in the White House. Saying that there was acuity decline with Joe Biden, man. So we'll go ahead and let this brother continue, man. my man, sweating.
Even the Democratic institutionalists realized, like, this dude can't be president. They said he can't be president, and then didn't blindly defend him. He would have been running for a second term except for the Democratic Party. And now and there were people who always thought that this man could not be president now, right? But that is not that could be up to the cabinet, right? And we were lied to, but I don't know how to defend that because I didn't think he should be president for a second term. I think that the party, when people realized that he could not do the job of president, they did something about it.
There were a lot of people.
Real quick, man. You look at her face, man. She looking at this brother like, brother, what is she talking about, man? You know what he looks like? He looks like he has the earpiece in, and the people told him, man, abort, abort. We can't defend Biden anymore. Abort, abort. And he wasn't prepared. His when he was on the show, his whole thing, his whole he had everything written out, man, on all the key points, talking points, man. We're gonna go ahead and continue to support Joe Biden, man. We're not gonna sit up here and let Joe go out like this. And then it's like he got the call from the producer, no, abort, abort, they on to us. and he didn't know what to say. He wasn't prepared. Come on, brother. And y'all got my man over here looking disheveled and oh man, they couldn't have me on CNN, man. I would be overly prepared. Y'all couldn't get shit over on me. But anyway, let's continue, man. Look at his sister. She was like, man, let me interrupt this brother, man. He making us all look bad. Oh man, come on, man. Let's continue.
Even at that time, still defending his ability to run for president again. Some people even suggested that it didn't matter whether or not he could continue as president, that he should continue to run.
Even after that disastrous debate on this network, there were some people being like, oh, he had a bad night. He had a bad night. You know, and one of the quotes in that Wall Street Journal piece was, there are good days and bad days. Today's a bad day. We'll deal with this tomorrow. The problem is tomorrow never came. It was just one bad day after another. And this kind of shielding President Biden, lying to the American people, telling them, don't believe your lying eyes, is yet another reason why President Trump was so successful. Because people just don't trust what they're being told. When they see clearly there was a decline in President Biden, and you're told, don't believe your own lying eyes, nothing to see here, people go, all right, what else are they lying to us about?
He also, in this lame duck period, has... I mean, look, we talk about all the time how Democrats ran on Trump being a threat to democracy, but just listen to what has changed between January of 2024 and just yesterday.
Trump's assault on democracy isn't just part of his past. It's what he's promising for the future. He's being straightforward. He's not hiding the ball. The fact that he doesn't abide by the rules of the democracy we've established is not my concern. My job is to make a transition workable and available.
That's hard to watch. And I've got nothing for you. I got no excuses for certainly. I think all of America sees what's going on here. I will say I was at the White House this week for a Christmas party, and Joe Biden talked for about 10 minutes. He cracked some jokes, and he was pretty lucid, and it was a good. But it certainly was not prepared in my.
That's why I love Scott Jennings, man. Scott Jennings looking at him, and Scott Jennings is the gentleman with the red tie, man. He looking at this dude like, man, you quit lying, man. He's got that smirk on his face. Scott Jennings is the man. I have watched these interviews, man. And Scott Jennings, man, he tells it like it is, dude. This dude tells it like it is, man. So I just love that Scott Jennings. He's always got these smirks and these looks on his faces, man. When these mugs be clearly lying, they be like, dude, man. Scott Jennings like, man, y'all make it way too easy. Y'all making this job way too easy. The job is too fun. You know, it is what it is, man. Go ahead, Scott. Oh man, political theater, the one of the longest running shows and one of the longest running of film franchises of all time, man. You guys didn't know. This is why everyone gets their feelings and is so involved in politics, man. Because it's a beautiful show. It's got all of the genres in one, man. Political theaters, politics, politicking, man. Come on, man. Let's continue.
My opinion to run the country. I do think we need to go back to the conversation that was happening on the campaign trail, and that's about age limits. I think we've got to start figuring out what that looks like. Boardrooms that have billions and billions and billions of dollars of investor money does that. And I know we talk about voters need to have the right, the opportunity to cast those votes, but I do think age limits on that position, it is the most demanding job anybody's ever held in their entire life.
I'm not for age limits because I do think voters, that's something you can easily discern. And people were discerning that when they were turning against Joe Biden. I just have to ask when the accountability is going to come for every single person who sat in front of a television, who held some position of responsibility and lied their rear end off about what they were seeing behind closed doors. People came on television and said, oh, I'm with him all day and he's really engaged and he's doing the job and he's running circles around us and these videos are cheap fakes and on and on and on. Brazen lying by people who work for our government, and they lied to us about it.
What do you have in mind in terms of accountability?
I don't know, but if I were in Congress or I were the incoming administration, I would be thinking about, because I agree with you on institutional trust. I think there is a lack of trust across the board. It's happening in your party. It's been happening in my party. How do you ever regain trust if there's no accountability for the people who lied us into the deficit in the first place? That's my question.
And if I'm a Democrat, I would never hire anyone who helped perpetrate this to be in a future administration. How can you regain trust in the American people if you're putting the exact same people back who lied to them again?
I think you're opening up a Pandora's box if you want to start investigating people who lie on behalf of their president, because one day there's going to be a Democrat in office after Donald Trump leaves, and I promise you, you don't want that to be happening to your party. But I will also say, to your point,
I don't agree with that.
You don't? You
Because-
think Donald Trump's been honest and the people around him have been honest?
Here's what I think. If you go to work for the government and you stand up at the podium like Karine has done and knowingly and fully lie to the American people because you know full well what you see behind the scenes and what you're saying in front of the podium, I mean, maybe the accountability is they never get hired again.
Like it was
But
the largest inauguration crowd in the
Is that as
history.
consequential as this? I'm
But
sad.
it's a lie.
Well,
But it's a lie.
I
It's a
think
lie.
it's a systemic problem, right?
You know, the Democrats in shambles, man. She gonna sit up here and talk, man. Let's go back. Hold on. Let's look. Let's look at her face. It's a lie. It's a lie. She talking about crowd sizes, man, at the rallies. Man, who cares, dude? Donald Trump said, you know, it is the biggest crowd I have ever seen. It is the biggest, largest crowd I've ever seen. Man, we don't give a damn about that. She over here talking about, he lied about the crowd sizes. Lady, they lied about Joe Biden's ability to lead the country. You're trying to compare these two? Man, man, get her off the stage, man. If this was the Apollo, we would have a man come up there tap dancing and escorting your ass up off the stage right now, man. Come on now. Where's we need to have a show like that. We need to have a political show like that. When your ass is just sitting up here talking crazy, lying so much, we get to boo your ass off the stage, boo, and they turn the alarm, and then the old boy, the Sandman comes up there, dances shit, takes his cane, and escorts your ass off the stage because you talking crazy. Let's get back. Look at Scott. Oh man, let's get back. My bad, y'all.
Inauguration crowd in the
Is that as
history.
consequential as this? I'm sad.
It's a lie. But it's a lie.
I think it's a systemic problem, right? Because I agree with your comments around somebody hiding the fact that Joe Biden was unable to do his job and casting all these fake narratives. But I'll also say those same stories came out of the Trump's White House also. Like when
the Reagan administration.
There's no Wall Street Journal expose.
There was a 2020 election. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
If there were, you call it fake news. That's
but I
the
haven't heard him
difference.
say that. Thank you for saying that. But I haven't heard him say that.
I don't want to. I think this is a Joe Biden conversation, but I mean, I think the point Jeff is making, we know for a fact Donald Trump spent a lot of time in that space between the Oval Office watching television when January 6th was occurring.
Okay, but no one is
So that
saying they have to shut down the White House because he's not with it today. This man is awake 23 hours a day. He's clearly engaged. And the American people just elected him over somebody who was much younger. I will point out to you. My question is this. That we elect people for a reason. The elected leadership of the government is supposed to be making decisions. For 4 years, the unelected have been in charge of our country during critical moments. Mm-hmm. We don't live in a country where the unelected are supposed to rule us. We live where the elected are supposed to rule. My problem is for 4 years, we were lied to about who's actually running the country. This is a problem.
Like Scott Jennings said, this is a problem. It's definitely a problem. We've been lied to for the last 4 years. Joe Biden didn't pass the eye test. He did not pass the eye test, man. Just with us commons folk, we're looking at this like, dude, come on, man. There's something wrong, and you know, mainstream media, more specifically, left wing media has been lying to us about Joe Biden's ability to run the country. You know, his mental acuity was just not there. It is declining. So we look at the decisions that's happening now, right? The decisions to send to allow the Ukraine to use U.S. made weapons against Russia, certain weapons that were not allowed before. Now all of a sudden, towards the end of his administration, he's allowing things like that. Him getting lost in the jungles of the Amazon, him passing some type of, I don't know, bill or whatever, saying that people that government employees can now work from home. It was like almost 50,000 government employees. Knowing that the incoming administration is definitely against that, and knowing that we have a lot of properties, government properties that are sitting empty. People are not coming into work. These reports are now starting to come out. People are starting to snitch, man. You got a whole bunch of Demis, man. Democrats starting to snitch. They out here telling in these streets, man, and in these political streets. They telling, man. Let's this is the question we all want to know, man. This question right here.
Who is running our country? That's the question everyone is asking after a bombshell report from the Wall Street Journal blew the lid off Joe Biden's declining mental state and how the White House has been covering it up right from the very start. According to the Journal, signs that the commander-in-chief was diminished stretched all the way back to, quote, the first few months of his presidency, with aides adjusting his schedule, noticing Joe becoming tired if they went long, and he started making mistakes. So they kept meetings short and started controlling who he spoke with. And like a good little lapdogs, the media aided and abetted the cover-up. Remember this lunacy?
F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second.
You know damn well they was lying their ass off when they said stuff like that, man. So it wasn't just Morning Joe or him saying these things, man. You heard this from many media outlets. Many media sources were saying that this is the sharpest I've ever seen Joe Biden. Like, what? Joe Biden he's smarter than the rest of us. He's running circles around us. He's doing this and that, whatever. All lies. Lying to the public so we could go ahead and repeating the lies. That's the thing. You repeat the same lies through multiple news agencies, hoping that it gets ingrained in people's head and then people just believe it. This is crazy, man. That old playbook doesn't work anymore. Now, I mean, a lot of people have seen it for what it is. They've awakened. They're like, no, you guys have gone too far. Your lies have gone too damn far, man. Now you're trying to tell us as somebody that has their health has declined, and we see it plain as day because we see it in our own family and friends, man. We see the same thing, and you trying to tell us, man, right on, my TV and my phone is clear, vibrant. I could see Joe is not well, but you want to tell us he is. And then you want to tell us how great of a candidate Kamala Harris is, man. Even Kamala Harris lied, continuously lying about, the health of Joe Biden. How could we trust her? And you want to talk about the last person wants to talk about Donald Trump is lying about the crowd size of his rallies. Come on, man. Stop it.
I'm not even going to ask a question on that. It's so absurd. Jesse, they say that the 50 sources say they noticed in the first few months that he couldn't handle things. But do you remember they're using COVID as an excuse for him not to campaign, not to get out there and to have the basement campaign where, remember, cars, they would beep if they supported Joe Biden? There were 8 of them.
Yeah, so they kept the COVID structure throughout the rest of the presidency. And he was treated like an aging dictator, an aging king. You know, the same things they said about Trump were true of him. He was isolated. He was out of touch. He was mentally unfit. People were keeping things from him. They wouldn't give him bad polling. They wouldn't give him bad headlines. He was AWOL during the lead up to Afghanistan. People were trying to get him on the phone at key moments. There's no way to get a hold of the guy. And he delegated his presidential powers to his staff, Judge. So when people ask, well, who's really the president? It was his staff. His staff were executing the duties of the president.
Yeah, his staff, but who was giving orders to his staff? You know, that's the part that's a little scary. Who was really running the country? You know, who are the people? Who are the puppeteers, man? Who's the puppet master? Who are the puppet masters that's really running the country? This is the reason why they wanted Joe Biden to stay in office, man. So they easy to control. You know, I think Kamala Harris would have fell right in line. I think she would have been easy to control as well.
And I think it was April 2021, right out of the gate, they were canceling meetings because he was having a bad day. So all this conspiracy theory about, you know, Joe Biden shot, he's a puppet, it was true. I mean, at this point, we're going to find out he stole the election from Trump. At this point, the way things are going.
Jesse?
I'm just saying, the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if we found that.
You know, the amazing part of it, Charlie, is that Jill Biden was in charge of the one cabinet meeting they had in 11 months. Jill Biden was the one who campaigned in 2020. She out-campaigned her husband, Joe. Jill Biden is the one that people had to go through to get to. Jill was one who they had to go through to get to Joe. Why was she so desperate for this?
I guess, I mean, you know, we don't know, but I guess it was because she was desperate to cling to the White House and to remain relevant and remain in the White House, because we don't have any other better answer than that. Obviously, this is all Joe Biden's responsibility. He's the one that allowed this to happen, but she bears a lot of responsibility for allowing it to happen to her husband. It's embarrassing. It wrecks whatever legacy he might have had. He leaves office the most unpopular president in the history of polling. And I also think that, and I hope that the people that are around him that lied to him, lied to us, lied to everybody, and kept this Weekend at Bernie's charade going all this time, don't escape scrutiny, and people don't forget that what they did to us. They talk about destroying democracy and taking democracy away. Yeah. There's no greater example of destroying democracy and taking it away than actually having the person that got elected they lied to him about, they shielded him from outsiders. They lied to him even as late as the campaign. They were lying to him about his pollsters, about his polling. They wouldn't let him talk to his pollsters. So even he didn't have any idea how bad things were going into the summer. There's a lot of blame to go around for everybody. Joe Biden is most responsible, but I hope that nobody forgets that what these staffers did to undermine democracy.
You know, Dana, the interesting thing is that before Joe Biden spoke to this special counsel, Robert Hur, for 1 week, he would spend 3 hours every day prepping. And the only thing that we got out of it was Hur said, this is a friendly guy, an elderly man with no memory. And this was the point where Putin goes into Ukraine, where Hamas attacks. where Joe was actually funding Iran, which is then funding Hamas. And it's one of the darkest periods in American history. And yet Joe is still there clinging to power in the last, 5 weeks or whatever it is. What do you think he's trying to do now?
I just had a thought that occurred to me. So let me just use my words here and see if I can get it out. When the Robert Hur report came out, do you remember there was a fury from the White House that Merrick Garland let it go out? And I have to wonder if Merrick Garland made sure it went out so that he at least would have been like, yeah, we're trying to tell people like this was what was happening. One of the things in the article is that they scripted his interactions with his defense secretary, Lloyd Austin. No wonder Biden had no idea Lloyd Austin was missing in action for 3 weeks. They never spoke anyway. And if they did, there was a script. It's not a call center. He didn't have a way to communicate directly with his Treasury Secretary. No wonder they never talked about inflation as a problem for Americans. You had the chief of staff saying it was a high-class problem. Then you think of those historians who would visit the White House, including writing speeches for Joe Biden, and telling him, you could be bigger than FDR. They weren't trying to have historical analysis. They were trying to make history with somebody who couldn't make his own decisions. Think of these people also. Annie Linsky of the Wall Street Journal wrote a piece 2 weeks before the debate between Biden and Trump, where the charade is exposed. And the White House came down on her like a ton of bricks. And she had said, like, I wrote this not because I wanted to hurt Joe Biden. It was like more in sadness than in anything. I'm having to write this. I have 40 sources, and I'll never forget that. The spokespeople from the White House just trying to destroy her reputation and her life. What sweet justice for Annie Linsky and her co-writers there. The last thing I would say is Kamala Harris is absolutely complicit in the cover-up.
Exactly. And that's where I was going to Jessica. What happened in this White House was something that I don't think America has seen ever. We all knew what was going on. We sat at this table and actually thought about what was clearly the cognitive decline of a bobbling, dithering man. And then we were like, and Kamala's great and he's really great. I mean, is there anything about that you think, you would change in terms of the Democrat Party? Should they have done something? Should they do something now?
Well, I don't think there's anything to do right this second. I think strategy will obviously be different going into future elections. I think people are going to be much more skeptical of what they're being told by people that are close to candidates. I mean, this is someone who throughout his career has had a very tight inner circle, but the extremeness of that seems unprecedented from looking at this. And this article is going to be tough for people to ignore because it's so well sourced and reported. It's not someone saying like, oh, I saw Joe Biden walked in the wrong direction or something, right? Like this is a lot of people, and they have a lot of people on the record, going in both directions of it. And Democrats saying things like, I think it was Senator Heinrich, that he spent more time with President Obama than he did with President Biden. And he was much less senior then, right? He just came in and Obama was giving him much more time. So there was obviously more of an openness to folks. But this is consistent with what I think a lot of people feel in the level of betrayal that Democrats, and myself included, underestimated that average voters feel about it. It's one thing to say these are the accomplishments, and I think a lot of people feel pretty positive about certain things that the administration did, but they wanted both, right? They wanted a candidate and they wanted the accomplishments together. And it's very clear that the Biden folks could have probably avoided a lot of this if he had dropped out a year in advance and said, we're going to have a primary. If Kamala is the winner, which I think is feasible, fine. If it's somebody else, that's good too. But you've been noticing as well as folks that worked on the campaign do interviews like on Pod Save America, or there was a forum and Jen O'Malley Dillon was there, and also Tony Fabrizio from Donald Trump's team, that they're not giving satisfactory answers to Democrats, that it feels like there's no apologies to be made. They keep saying, I wouldn't have done anything different.
Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. It's pretty awful. I think it's a very dark period in American history.
Click here to subscribe to the
I agree, man. His cognitive decline It was painfully obvious. Painfully obvious. And the lies being told by the Democrats, the disingenuous interviews, Kamala Harris saying, "Hey, I wouldn't have done anything different," and them continuing this lie about Joe Biden's acuity. It's crazy. It's vindication, right? We've been right this whole time. We were right this whole time. So it is a level of vindication, of course, and it just reconfirms that people were right about the media. They're right about legacy media. And you see that legacy media is attacking, right? They are in attack mode. I mean, we saw CNN earlier, which obviously, if you know anything about CNN is more left leaning, right? Except for Scott Jennings, of course. Even they're sitting there, man. Even the other ones are sitting there, in somber, like they're sitting at some type of memorial, man. Like they're just saddened, like this lie came out. Man, that should just be a relief. Take that burden off your shoulders, man. That's one big ass lie you ain't gotta tell no more. So, Joe, like we couldn't see, but this right here, I think this was it. This was the final straw displayed on a worldwide stage. Take a look at this debate of President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden. Vindication. It is vindication. And people are using their voices. They're speaking out, man. They're not relying on mainstream media anymore. They're just not. There's a lot of truth in what our brother Elon Musk is saying, man, in regards to X being the number one source for news. People are coming to X for news. Now, just like anything, you got to go ahead and fact check, and you got to check out the sources, because, you do have some people that have satire on here. They post satire, and then some people just straight up lie, and some of it is just people just trying to be funny, man. And then people take it literally, right? So, but this situation right here, man, this is something that we've known for a long time, and it's crazy that this has been happening since he was elected president. So then his entire administration, he has been on a decline, man. A cognitive decline. It's crazy. Wow. So let's take a look and see what Megyn Kelly's always got a lot to say. Let's see what Megyn Kelly has to say.
Now, as Kamala Harris has lost, and no one's done the in-depth think piece other than us on how problematic she was. Forget the team around her and their decision making. Yes, that too. But it's been hands off of her. We now get the press turning on Joe Biden. So it's like now they're getting really honest about Joe Biden. Okay, yes, fine, but still nothing on her. Pod Save America going after Biden. And the Wall Street Journal, yes, they went after him before, but they have done yet another relatively in-depth piece on his failing mental acuity. By the way, he's still president, just for those of you keeping track at home, on how cabinet members were not able to speak to him. They just kept getting stiff-armed and came to understand speaking to the president was just not a possibility, on how all of his aides ran cover for him and acted more like they were the president, on how they had to bring in a voice coach that they got through Jeffrey Katzenberg to help him try to sound more robust, on how in 2020, this is 2020, not 2024, Jill Biden was out there seeing more counties in Iowa, far more than Joe Biden could or was able to see, to the point where his aides had to chastise hers to say, stop telling people that. It doesn't make us look good. On and on it goes. And Charles C.W. Cook raises a good point over at National Review today, saying, where's the accountability? Forget the press, Morning Joe, best Joe Biden ever, for Kamala Harris, who peddled this lie just as much as anyone, and yet remains in an article every other day as the front runner for the 2028 presidential nomination on the Dem side.
A really good point, but I think even a better one is, where is the question her right now? Because she, in a 100-day period of her campaign, refuted almost every position that she'd held. She used to demonstrate for deportation. She said for against deportation. She said in the 100 days, I will have to deport people. And then she said she was for fracking. And then she said she was tough prosecutor and she wanted to prosecute people in a way that she was on record in California for defunding the police, and on and on. So now the election's over, and what Kamala Harris is it? Is it the old Kamala Harris that's going to run on her prior record for California governor, or was it the new Kamala Harris that tried to fool and fake her way into the presidency for 100 days? And no one is asking her those questions. Not one reporter is saying, Kamala, what do you believe about fracking right now? Is it what you said 100 days, or is it what you said prior to that? And they could ask that along lines of, 10 or 12 topics, and they won't do it. The other thing that's really disturbing is, I can't believe the Wall Street Journal didn't have people leaking this story for the last 4 years. And I know that they didn't want to influence the election, but they could have at least had a little bit more honest reporting. Now, it's a pattern here, Megyn. Now that it's all over, they're basically saying to the country, we kept things from you that we can now tell you. And we're sorry that people called you all crazy conspiracy theorists when you said that Joe Biden was demented or had problems. But now we can kind of agree with you. Same thing they did on the border. New York Times wrote an article not long ago. Wow, this is the greatest influx of illegal aliens we've ever seen. This is the greatest number of foreign-born we've ever seen. This is the greatest percentage of people who were residents of the country that were not born in the United States. They knew that the whole time. Now they're telling us. Same thing about Kamala Harris's campaign. Now all of a sudden we're told by the Obama advisors, well, we kind of lied about the momentum, and we were kind of surprised about these polls that they were kind of fake in our favor. And we would kind of look at each other and say, wow, New York Times, Washington Post says she's ahead. They really believed we had momentum. We told everybody we did, but not one of our internal polls showed that she was ever winning. And it's kind of, it really makes long-term, it destroys your confidence if you had any left in this mainstream media as well as Kamala Harris.
Yeah. The Wall Street Journal did do an article on Biden's mental acuity before the election, before his implosion, I should say. Yeah. But this one goes more in depth. And what's interesting is now more and more people are talking, right? Now people on the inside of the administration are ready to own up to the fact that he couldn't speak with cabinet members. And Representative Adam Smith, a Democrat, moderate Democrat in Washington, he's been on the show. He's on the record here saying he sought to talk to Biden to share his insights about Afghanistan, and couldn't get on the phone with him. Ron Klain, his then White House chief of staff, was running interference with everybody. Just like Trump, they had to keep all negative news out of Biden's press briefings. Except during Trump, you saw that story everywhere. Trump's so thin-skinned, he can't read bad polls. He can't read negative coverage, which is all the coverage for Trump. Same for Biden. They reveal in this report that they had to pull news clips and they had to make sure that it excluded negative stories. And speaking of the Robert Hur investigation into Joe Biden's retention of classified documents, unlike Trump, from when he was not in a position to have them at his home or anywhere, right? It was as senator, you're supposed to review them in a SCIF, a secure room. You can't take them outside of the office, which he did. Anyway, they said that they took these press sessions with him and that they took 3 hours a day for a week. But Joe Biden couldn't recall the lines that his team had previously discussed with him. And then it came out that in that Hur interview, he couldn't remember when his son Beau died. And Robert Hur said, I can't prosecute this guy. He's a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. That's what a jury will see. And here's what Kamala Harris said after that.
The comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate. The way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated. That when it comes to the role and responsibility of a prosecutor in a situation like that, we should expect that there would be a higher level of integrity than what we saw.
Victor, those lies cost the Democrats the White House. They cost them. Will there be no accountability for her?
None. That was the most asinine thing she said of many asinine things. She didn't even realize that had he not said that, that was to the benefit of her and Joe Biden. Had he not said, and I thought he was almost inappropriate because the role of a prosecutor is to present the evidence, not necessarily to determine the cognitive status of the person who's might be charged. That's up for a jury and a judge to adjudicate. I mean, there's a lot of people who would say to a prosecutor, I'm old and I can't remember. And the IRS, to take one example, is not very sympathetic to that. So what Kamala Harris was basically saying was, I wish Robert Hur had not given the excuse of not prosecuting him, since apparently the evidence was there that he could have presented it to a jury, but he gave us the benefit of the doubt by saying Joe was confused. But he's not confused, ergo, they should have prosecuted him for removing documents in a felonious fashion to 4 different locations over 30 years, and then having a ghostwriter where he disclosed classified information to the ghostwriter, who then destroyed the tapes of it under subpoena, which is a felony. And then he said to Robert Hur, I only did that because I was afraid they'd be hacked. And Hur gave them the benefit of the doubt all the way in those decisions. He said, well, I'm not going to prosecute the speechwriter for destroying evidence, and I'm not going to prosecute Joe Biden for disclosing classified information. And that was one of the things Jack Smith pointed out that allegedly Trump had done to an individual without a security clearance. So Harris didn't realize, or she knew that Biden was the beneficiary of prosecutor discretion. And yet here she is damning him for the very reason that let Joe Biden get off the hook. And she's so incoherent. That speech she gave the other day she just gave a speech. You may have recalled that, where it was almost as if she was intoxicated. She couldn't form a sentence. She laughed. She was incoherent. She tried to make fun of this obscure language and pseudo philosophy that she espouses. And it was just the idea that she came close to the presidency is really scary.
Yeah, it's genuinely terrifying. Well, Joe Biden also came close to retaining the presidency and serving a second term. If he hadn't had that meltdown, those senior moments at that June debate, who knows what would have happened? For those of us who have been holding our breath for the past several months,
yeah, man. Now we see. All along, we've been right. You got Kamala Harris. They want to sit up here. Now they're creating this narrative that she's the front runner for 2028. Come on, man. According to who? Left-wing media again? You guys are already campaigning. So this is the playbook. We'll go ahead and we'll continue to talk about Donald Trump. Anything that he does, we'll lie about it. Well, you better be careful about lying on Donald Trump now, because you guys know what happened with George Stephanopoulos and ABC, right? They had to pay out $15 million for defaming him. So maybe you guys should do this. Start reporting the news correctly. Start telling the truth. Okay. Stop with this narrative that, okay, well, we'll go ahead and attack every single thing that Donald Trump does. We'll blame him for what's happening with this, the potential shutdown of the government. Look, they looked at a bill that was 1,500 pages long, and it was, they looked at it and said, this is garbage. This is straight trash. You guys have added all this stuff in here, and then you guys in the media try to spin it. Okay, so this is the game plan going forward, right? From now on, we'll go ahead and we'll will say these disparaging things about Donald Trump and the things that he's trying to do and the people that he's trying to appoint. And we're going to go ahead and put it in people's minds that Kamala Harris is the front runner for 2028. Stop it, man. Stop it, dude. People have woken up. And as long as the Democrats continue to go down the road with this game plan of just lying and just going ahead and trying to discredit people and just call people names and so on and so forth, you guys will never regain the presidency. You won't. Find a candidate that's not a liar. Find a candidate that loves America, and find a candidate that wants to do good for America. That's not going to sit up here and just continuously lie and try to mislead the public with all this bullshit. We're done. We're done, mate.